Hello. I am still working on Nuclear Fruit, but I make no apologies for Diligence. Footage this week is from The Witcher 3, or The Witcher Wild Hunt. Just some footage I captured near the start of the game, so there aren't too many spoilers or anything like that. This is all early quest stuff. I haven't had that much time to play, unfortunately, but I have been enjoying it. Anyway, on to the questions. And first up, William Farmer says, have you ever visited Sheffield? And if so, what did you think? I have been to Sheffield a couple of times, I think. In fact, it was Sheffield that was the first and only time that I ever broke a bone. I was at a nightclub, a house music place called Bed. Just B-E-D, Bed. That was it. I was looking for the bathroom. I had a few drinks, but I was relatively sober. Anyway, I looked upstairs for the bathroom, couldn't find it, went downstairs, and there were some girls sitting next to the handrail. Now, you see, I'm a pretty responsible person. I was using the handrail, but I had to disengage to circumnavigate these people. And, well, I lost my balance, fell forward, landed on my left wrist, and it turns out I cracked my radius. Spent the rest of the summer in a cast, and I lost my summer job packing biscuits. So, what do I think of Sheffield? It's alright. It's a bit like Leeds, but bigger. Grazer Magic says, do you play any MOBAs? I think the big two out right now are Dota 2 and League of Legends. But even back in the day, Warcraft 3 was a bit of good fun. I don't really know. MOBAs aren't really my cup of tea. That is to say, I don't really like them. I quite like RTSs. I mean, I've enjoyed a few games of Command & Conquer and StarCraft, and back in the day, Dune 2. But I tend to stick to the single player. I like single player RTS, but when you get into the realm of multiplayer, I don't know. It's not really for me. I really am more of a fan of single player games. Call of Duty for me was really an exception. Prior to COD 4, I really can't think of any multiplayer game that I played with any regularity. At least not online multiplayer anyway. But you have to remember, 5 years prior to Call of Duty 4, broadband wasn't really that widespread. I think I got my first broadband line in 2004. And back then, what was I playing? I think I was playing Need for Speed, Underground 2, that sort of thing. Neverwinter Nights I played for a while. Civilization. I'm a big fan of Civilization, I've always played it. I was kind of in a weird place where I wasn't really playing that many new games. I'd go back to my favourites. It wasn't really until 2006, when I got an Xbox 360, that I started getting back into games. I think that's one of the reasons why I have a certain fondness for my Xbox, because the Xbox was a catalyst for me getting back into games. As weird as that sounds, I mean, I had a perfectly good gaming PC, but I found myself kind of stuck in a rut, just playing the same thing over and over again. Pancake Killfeed says, hey Stu, if COD were to return to its former glory, would you do videos on it again? Or did that ship crash and burn? I do feel as though we are past peak COD. I think to rebuild the series to its former glory might be an impossible task. That being said, I wouldn't rule anything out. I don't know what would tempt me over. I'd like to see a COD without made-up guns. I was a little bit disheartened to see Black Ops 3 set in the future, which means it'll probably have made-up guns. Which means there'll be nothing recognisable, there'll be nothing with any history, and there'll be no FAL. So I think it would take like a historical or a present-day COD to entice me back. Maybe if there was a COD 4 remaster, that might sway me. It'd be nice to do a COD 4 weapon guide. But I don't know, I'm not going to start speaking for the future. All I know is there probably aren't any COD weapon guides on the horizon. But if COD changes, then so might I. Limit Gaming says, ever think of recording tutorials? I'm really interested to see your video editing habits, as well as the way you produce the awesome style of graphics you use in your videos. It could happen, the thought crosses my mind from time to time, but to make tutorials properly would take effort, and that's effort that I could otherwise invest in making my usual content, so they tend to get occluded by my other work. I don't think I'd want to do anything that, somebody else could do, and there are countless Vegas tutorials out there, there are countless Photoshop and Illustrator tutorials out there, but maybe something more abstract, maybe something like the structure of a video, script writing, planning, or stuff like that. Or maybe, how I approach the graphic design elements, that could be done. But my main channel isn't really a tutorial channel, so I'd have to find a place for it, I suppose. And Yoshi Godrez says, did he just say one of the most critically acclaimed series of all time is all right? Well, you know what they say, You can take the Xbox out of Ahoy, but you can't take the Ahoy out of the Xbox. You'll find the British are a fan of understatement, and I'm no exception to that. I like the Uncharted games, I do. It's a technique known as litotes, which is an emphasis through de-emphasis. So, for instance, you take one of the most critically acclaimed series of all time, you say, it's not bad. It's a purposeful understatement, but it's one that I find quite amusing to myself. And in an ironical sense, it can be quite good at emphasizing something. If the audience knows that said game is critically acclaimed, and you say it's merely not bad, that's irony. There's a certain humour there, and that spark of humour can emphasise the point, which is, yeah, Uncharted's all right. People get so hung up on literal meanings of things on YouTube, when the English language it's broader than that. You can use words in non-literal senses. Litotes is one, synecdoche is another. Synecdoche is when a small part refers to the whole, or the whole refers to the small part. Like, for instance, if you were describing the events of World War II and you say Hitler pushed into Soviet Russia. Well, that's not strictly literally true, because Hitler was probably quite safe in Germany. Hitler's forces pushed into Soviet Russia. But you can say Hitler pushed into, because it's the idea that his armed forces are the embodiment of his will, and so the smaller part can reflect the larger. Anyway, this is probably why I don't engage in YouTube arguments so much. I'd probably come across as a bit of a pompous fool. So, are you even familiar with the concept of synecdoche? No, I wasn't being literal, you cretin. I chose that turn of phrase for ironic effect. I do have to be careful, with picking fights and arguments on YouTube, because, out of context, an adversarial tone can have you coming across as a bit of a, I can't think of a word that isn't rude to describe it. Who's Fizzly says, hey Stu, do you care about Gamerscore? If so, what games have you got all achievements in? I do quite like Gamerscore, but I'm rarely a completionist. I feel as though achievements give me motivation and a structure to play against, and I like that. But some achievements just aren't worth getting, in my opinion. Like, I'll happily complete the game, I'll happily pick up collectibles if they're, easy to find, or if they're marked on a map, I'll do that, sure, why? It's busy work, but you get a few points, and it's something to do. But some achievements, like play the game backwards in the dark on the hardest difficulty +1. Yeah, maybe not. So I normally give in to diminishing returns. I'll get the lion's share of achievements, and if I liked it, I might play it again, maybe go for a few more. And then after that, I don't know. Spending 100 hours on a couple of hundred Gamerscore, to me, isn't worth it, when I could be playing another game. Because I do like to have a broad experience of games. Anyway, games that I have completed, I can't remember. I've almost completed Fallout 3, save for one achievement on, Mothership Zeta, collecting the alien records. I missed that one, because I didn't realise some of them were missable and you couldn't get back to it. And I never wanted to play that DLC again, so that's the only achievement I'm missing from Fallout 3. I think I have Fight Night 3, that's an easy one. I also have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that's another easy 1000. Let's have a look on true achievements, what else? I have completed Forza Horizon 2 Presents Fast and Furious, both on the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One. That was an easy 2000. The Secret of Monkey Island Special Edition. I finished that. And Pac-Man Championship Edition, DX. That's all. Next closest is the first Borderlands, which I have 49 out of 50. Oblivion, 49 out of 50. Mass Effect 2, 48 out of 50. Bully, Scholarship Edition. Oh, I almost 100%ed that, but one of the arcade machines, the high score eluded me. Anyway, my overall completion is 40%, which isn't terribly good, but considering I've played a lot of games, it's alright. The Mr. Bouse says, hey Stu, why have you never included any of my questions? Well, clearly you're wrong, because I just included this one. My question selection is, it's quite arcane. Really, I start at the bottom, and I just work my way up, and anything that I want to answer, I'll answer. So something that would provoke discussion, something which I actually want to talk about. And being timely, being sort of early is probably a good way of doing it. Reboy GTR says, Stu, Skyline or Supra? Probably Skyline. Toby Uchiha says, hey Stu, are you a fan of the Fallout series? And with Bethesda having a conference at E3, do you think Fallout 4 will be teased? You know, I'm going to go out on a limb here and suggest that maybe Fallout 4 might make an appearance at E3. Maybe. I have a suspicion that they're going to announce it some point soon, if not already. Anyway, yes, I am quite a fan of the Fallout series, although admittedly I am a newcomer. The first Fallout game I played was the third, which is, you know, it's a secret gamer shame, but it's what it is. But I am quite looking forward to Fallout 4, because I do quite like the games. I like, you know, the exploration and just the roaming the wasteland. So yeah, definitely looking forward to Fallout 4. Purple Fear says, have you ever considered quitting gaming? I recently stopped playing video games as I felt like they took up too much of my time, which led to a lacking social life. I realise that you make gaming-related content and put it on YouTube, but still, has it ever come to mind? Quitting? No, not really, but my habits and the amount that I play has changed, has evolved over the course of my life. I mean, certainly the platform that I play on principally has changed. Started out with the ZX Spectrum, moved on to a Commodore Amiga in 1991, stuck with that until about 1998 when I got my first PC. I was then pretty much a PC exclusive gamer until around 2006. Then I had my Xbox 360, I had that in tandem with my PC. And today, well, I've got the full gamut. The bleakest time for me, in terms of gaming, was probably the time that I spent at university. I was more into music at that point, so that kind of displaced some of my gaming interest. And I didn't have an internet connection, believe it or not, in my student flat. So the only place I could connect to the internet was in the libraries, which, you know, is okay. I can check my emails and stuff, but as far as downloading games and stuff like that, it's a little bit inconvenient. 2003, 2004, when I started work, I had a bit of a return to PC gaming, and it was that I had my own internet line, which meant I could download games. Admittedly, not entirely legitimately, which, you know, I did buy some games. I bought quite a lot, but I found myself trying games that I might not have otherwise. But at no point have I ever really thought to myself, you know, I should quit games. I don't know, there have been times when my habits have been in recession, but no, I've always liked games, and I probably always will. Velkin999 says, hey Stu, if given the choice, hamburgers or steak? Now, how do you like your burger or steak? Given the choice, I mean, just based on the value alone, I'd probably go for steak. But if I had nothing but steak, I'd probably find myself missing burgers. How I take my steak varies with the quality of the restaurant that I'm in. If I'm cooking for myself, I normally have it rare. If I'm at like a dodgy pub, I'll take it medium rare. But when I say medium rare, I really mean just make sure it's cooked. If I were in a more upscale place, I'd definitely go rare. And if it were a special cut of beef, I'd consider blue. I don't think I've ever had a blue steak. As for me hamburgers, I like them in a bun. Tyson Matsuke says, how was young Stu like? Did he have many friends? Did he annoy teachers or put them at ease? What were his dreams before adulthood took over? I think there's a fundamental misconception with this question. The last part, the idea that there was a point when adulthood took over. Because there wasn't, and I don't think there really ever is for anybody. I mean, sure, you know, there are changes. If you go to university, yeah, that changes you. If you start work, yeah, that will change you. Your habits will change. But in terms of your own internal mind, your own internal dialogue, I don't think that there isn't a point where you reach adulthood. You're always kind of the same person. So growing up is more of a gradient, which means dreams don't suddenly stop. They kind of melt, fade away, transform, morph. So I've always had a love for computers and multimedia. And, you know, I might have had dreams of being a games programmer or something similar. And I did do some games programming back when I was a teenager. I was always very interested in the visual arts as well, particularly 2D design. So I thought maybe, you know, I could be a graphic designer or an architect. I realise now that architecture is actually quite dull. There's a lot of engineering and materials involved. But back when I thought it was drawing pictures of houses, it was a mooted career move. But obviously you discover that architecture maybe isn't for you, but graphic design could be. And then graphic design coupled with multimedia design, computers, that sort of led me to web design, which was an emerging field at the time. I like emerging fields, they're exciting. So I got into web design during college, then in university, and then, well, I worked as a web developer for 8 years. So as far as, career prospects and dreams, it's always been about computers, it's always been about graphics, and I suppose that's kind of what I'm doing. Young me was probably shy, a little bit awkward, better looking than I realised. I see that now. Quite good in school. I could, back in high school, I could get A's and B's without any effort at all. And this sort of realisation that I could score, highly without any effort, led me down a bit of a dangerous path academically. So as the academic level increased, my grades, well, they started to drop. I didn't realise you had to work to get grades. I just thought, you just turn up, look good, and then, you get an A. But no, that's not how it works. Socially, I was always a bit of a late bloomer. Like I start first year of school, really reserved, small circle of friends. But by the end of high school, everybody knows me. I'm comfortable with everybody. A wider circle of friends and all that, yeah, reasonably popular. And then I go to college and it's back to square one. Don't know anybody, small circle of friends. As far as teachers are concerned, I think anybody who can score well in exams has a certain favour with teachers. But I wouldn't say I put the teachers at ease particularly. I think when you can perform well, you can get a little bit relaxed, a little bit cheeky at times, and that's probably the relationship there. But I was never one for trouble. I was a stranger to detention. But the weirdest thing about childhood is that it never really ends. At least nobody tells you when it ends. It just kind of keeps on going. I'm still waiting on that certificate that says, "Congratulations, you are an adult." But it never comes. And I think back to myself 5 years ago and I think, oh, cringe. What a fool I was. What a child. And I don't think that will ever change. I think 35-year-old me will look back at 30-year-old me. I think 40-year-old me will look back at 35-year-old me and think, what a juvenile idiot I was. Huzzah says, watching this video, a lot of the content seemed quite YouTube-oriented, and I was wondering, have you ever seen or considered Ahoy subs as being called something due to their affiliation with you? Sort of like Pewdie's Bros or something like that. Not that I'm saying it's necessarily a good idea, but if you were forced, as such, to create a name for your fanbase, what would you choose? I really don't think I'll start, emphasizing a brand for my subscriber base. It's not really the level that I'm pitching for with the content that I do. But if I were forced to, I'd probably take a page out of Doctor Who's book and go for Ahoovians. Would it be Ahoyvians? I don't know, it doesn't really matter. Poop Factory says, "Hey Stu, being from America, I was wondering if, what's that word? Pizza is a common food in the UK. Also, assuming you had it before, what is your favourite topping?" No, I'm sorry, I've never heard of pizza. Sorry. Gareth Pyramix says, "Stu, what car are you currently driving?" I don't drive, actually, but I'm actually going to learn this year, because it's probably a good idea that I learn at some point. I have my theory test scheduled for the 24th of June, and I'll probably be taking practical lessons sometime in August. I'll be sure to keep you updated with my progress. Brian Shaw says, "Stu, do you cook for yourself often? If so, would you consider yourself a good cook?" I do enjoy cooking. Do you know, after computers, video games, I would consider cooking my second hobby. Am I a good cook? Well, I'm okay. I think I'm pretty good. I'm not qualified, but I do cook quite often. And I try to get out of my comfort zone and try new recipes every so often. Last night I made saag aloo, curried potatoes basically. It was quite nice. Your spice mix, which is your garlic, your ginger, your garam masala, turmeric, other stuff, cumin, and then, cook your onions, potatoes, there's yogurt, and then there's eggs and stuff. It was all right. Quite fancy. Synthetic Kill says, "Hey Stu, sorry if this is a tad long, but I feel like with your expertise in YouTube, and you're one of my favourites, I just have to ask you. I've been on the YouTube gaming road since 2012, and I just don't seem to see my channel getting anywhere. Granted, I'm very thankful and grateful for what I've accomplished, but it's so degrading seeing no results with the amount of time and effort I put into my content. Our type of content is different. Yours are on the factual and informational side, mine is more towards the funny and wacky side, but I just don't seem to get anywhere. I've only just nearly reached 500 subs, but I don't pull around 500 views per video, plus I upload one per day. Thanks for your time, and sorry if this was too long. Thank you. Getting discovered can be tough, certainly. I think one of the things you need to do is maybe not do daily videos, but have videos that stand out more, the so-called high-effort videos, in inverted quotes. There are a lot of gaming YouTubers out there. There are thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. I wouldn't be surprised if the number nudges into the millions. So you need to do something remarkable to be remarked upon. Consistent content is great for when you've got an audience, but if you don't have an audience or if you've only got a small audience established, it's not going to help your signal stand out from the noise. So, if what you're doing isn't working, maybe it's time for a change. It makes sense, right? And that's one of the liberating things about not having an established audience. You can do whatever you like. And so the onus is on you to make something spectacular, something great. Then while consistency is important, something which I should probably work on, you can't just produce the same content as other people without an established audience and hope to grow. Anyway, YouTubing's a mug's game. Can't say I recommend it, and I certainly wouldn't pin your self-esteem on how your videos perform. Anyway, we've hit time. That's 21 minutes by my reckoning, and we'll probably push 22 by the time I finish saying this sentence. So I shall bid you adieu, and I shall resume my seemingly Sisyphean task of putting nuclear fruit together. I'm going to start doing the music soon, I think. I already have a motif in mind, but I need to actually produce something. I could just use somebody else's music, but I like to add, my own personal touch. Sure, it'll add a week on to the production time, but that doesn't matter. People think I'm dead already anyway. So, another bonus in a week, maybe 2 weeks. Until then, farewell.